You're live. Perfect. Now what I need is to open up this here. Perfect. All set. Good to go.
Oh, okay. So week two. Um, we will be recapping week one. Good morning, Landon.
Good morning. Good morning.
So I want to start with last Sunday morning. Uh, we had breaking news uh, about 9:30 in the morning. A video released. Uh, the creator of this video was. Looks like your account may have been hacked because it was a video of you sending out well wishes to Ian and telling him how you look up to him and how you really wish your team was as good as his. And we thought, okay, well, you know what? We really thought Landon was going to be talking smack, but he complimented Ian. Was it hard to compliment Ian so well that you actually decided to take a loss to Ian? I mean, I know you seemed pretty confident after the draft that your team was going to win the trophy. And then you post this video, or at least, I mean, I should say a video was posted. Can't actually say if it was you. You may have been hacked. I know you normally don't talk smack, especially not to Ian, because you look up to Big Brother, and he's shown everything what to do and what not to do in fantasy football. So, how did that video work out?
Well, honestly, I didn't. um, let's just say that I was unfortunately not hacked, and I did mean everything I said. But I think the biggest thing here that we got to take away is look at some of the teams that we're looking at right now.
Okay.
Based off last week's video when we were talking about Rob, we actually thought we had him in the bottom two in contention for the worst team. He ended up starting off 2-1. I personally had myself starting off at one of the top two, if not top one, and I started off 0-2. So realistically, in my humble opinion, I do feel like all the good players, all the good teams, they ended up losing their first week. If you look at social media, all the good players, they did not show up. And I think that is why I am a victim of an 0-2 start.
So, Rock is 2-0 because, of course, we've only had, it's week two. We're entering week two, so only one matchup. But this year, like we've discussed, uh, score above the median, then you get an extra win. If you score below it, you get an extra loss. Uh, this week, the difference between the median was Sean, who scored 210.35, and Oscar, who scored 210.30. They both lost their matchup, but the median was 210.32 and a half, I guess you could say, and Sean got a win for that. So we discussed Sean and Rob as being. We briefly discussed Oscar as possibly because you thought I was going to say Oscar, so you must have thought Oscar's team sucked. But we'll get to that a little bit later. But we both agreed that Rob was going to lose. Rob put up 234.9 points, and he is in first place in his division. So good job, Rob. We owe you an apology for your the start that we thought you were going to have versus the start that you actually had. So when we go over today's record and the video we have, Nate is in first place. Overall, it on the site it shows him as the third seed, but technically Nate is the first seed. So Nate, congratulations. You had the high score of 282.55. Anything you want to say about Nate's team or any other team right now before we get into the matchups that happen?
Um, no, I think I'll hit on them when once we get there.
Okay, okay. So the matchups that we have, self versus Mark. I, you know, Mark's team looked stronger than the output that he had, but when you Isaiah Pacheco did not do well in the Friday night game. AJ Brown had one catch on the Thursday night game. Barkley was Barkley pretty much. Um, Jacobs, it took him a while to score. Here's Mark's starting lineup, and he had Goff, Brown, Adams, Barkley, Jacob, Kelsey, Pacheco, Stafford. I believe he had Cup in there, but he dropped him. And then I think it was Buffalo's defense that he had. That's who he has now, but I think he actually played Buffalo's defense. So you look at that lineup, and it was strong, but his team put out, unfortunately, the lowest amount of points for the week. And so, like you said earlier, and please add a little more to this, the studs, which first 2 round players, first 3 round players, a lot of them did not produce. Hit on that a little bit more because, like you were saying, that's kind of what you saw.
Yeah, I mean, just this week you got Jamar Chase only 2 catches, Nico Collins only 2 catches, Malik Neighbors had 1 catch going in halftime, did end up with about 19 points, so he was okay. He ended up being okay. AJ Brown 1 catch. You had Devonte Adams, who we thought the Rams offense was going to be high powered. That game was super slow, by the way, against the Texans, but Devonte Adams didn't do well. You had Nakua Puka only played 60% of snaps or whatever after going out with that eye injury. But honestly, when he's on that field, Stafford is looking at him consistently. So he played less percent of downs than all these other first round picks that you were drafting, and he ended up blowing all of them out. Could have possibly scored more than them combined with how terrible the first round went. Besides CMC and Puka are pretty much the only two that actually did something productive for where we were drafting them at. And then, like you said, it just took a lot. It took a while for all these offenses to start clicking. Besides the Colts offense, the Colts offense looked absolutely phenomenal. And when I say the Colts offense, I mean everyone but Jonathan Taylor because he got vultured twice on the 1 yard line by Danny Dimes, which everyone was saying, including myself. We all thought that having Danny Dimes start over Anthony Richardson would be a huge positive for him. It obviously didn't work out that way. Danny Dimes had a perfect passer rating, I'm assuming, based off what I saw. And he vultured two rushing touchdowns as well. It took a while, but I was reading something this morning where Derrick Henry last year, week 1, he only had 48 yards rushing, 48 or 49. Joe Burrow and Chase, they combined for 19 points. They're known to be terrible the first 2-3 weeks. But I thought that was going to be out of the picture when they looked amazing at the beginning of every single preseason game. They finally played this year. That didn't change anything. And then you had the Saints offense put up 44 points. Week 1's just like, this was all last year. But this was all, week 1 is a fluke. Everyone's still trying to get their stuff. They're still scripting drives, but the drives aren't going to be scripted as well because we don't know what the other team's defense looks like. Everything's just changing around, but I think come week 3 is when we're going to start seeing like the good teams be the good teams, and then the bad teams go to where they're supposed to be.
Correct. Rob versus Oscar, and Rob won that matchup. Rob's team we discussed. Well, Rob thought that and Dak Prescott were going to carry him. Dak played a great game. Unfortunately, he had a lot of drops. CD himself had 4. So Dak's points that he scored last week did not really represent what was put out on. Then you've got St. Brown. The Lions' offense just whatever. I think St. Brown had what 41 total yards of receiving. Gibbs had what, 10 catches for 30 yards,
Yeah, he had 10 catches
only
for 30 yards.
for 30 yards. So it just three 3 yards a reception, not 3 yards a target, but 3 yards a reception. Because usually on your target, that's where you get the low ones. So when you see 10 for 30, 10 for 31, that is just unreal. Laporta, I think, had the best game on the offense. I'll throw this out for you, Oscar. But yes, did get a touchdown. So that offense is going to kind of take a little while to get going under the new coordinator. Lad McConkey on Rob's team also. Yeah, he had a decent game, but he was kind of held back from two other receivers. And if this is how the Chargers plays this year, then about the receivers and the running backs and the skill positions, it's going to be about Herbert. And Herbert looked extremely strong in that first week. It was the Chiefs. The Chiefs, they tend to start off strong, so you can't say that, oh, they played a weak team. They both traveled the same distance, so it is actually, I think, where they traveled to. Kansas City may have traveled a little shorter, but it was just Rob's team showed up, except for his Lions players, and then Travis Etienne. He put on a show. What do you have? One carry for 70 yards, and then everything else they get 140 on less than 20 carries. So that was a surprise. But his team showed up. So Rob, if you can keep playing like this, you are not going to be. You're going to have to find a place to put some of these. Give you a pointer.
I'm going to stop you real quick.
What?
I'm going to stop you real quick. You're going to stop sharing your screen with me because you're lagging.
Okay.
And then so when you stop sharing your screen, I'll share mine.
We really don't need. We could just be us talking.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So stop sharing.
But just that way it'll get you with less lag.
Okay.
Perfect.
Better?
Yep.
Now you can see my ugly mug. So, Rob, like I was going to say, Brandon Ayuk, Joe Mixon, put those two guys on. Anderson cannot go on IR because of he's suspended. You can't put suspended players on IR. But I just want to throw that out there, give you a little flexibility, give you a little leeway on trying to pick up some players. Okay. Do want to say Tuesday nights, Wednesday mornings, sometime in there after midnight, waivers run. So remember, people, to put your waivers in. The waivers this year, I claimed 2 people and I dropped down to 7. I was at number 1. I know Nate was asking if he didn't pick anybody, can he save that waiver spot? But he had already actually claimed Ja'Cory Crocky Merritt. And he was actually 9th or 10th waiver. I saw he actually did pick someone up. So there are keys to staying active and staying competitive. You can't just after 1 week. We'll go to Nate and Sean.
You want me to hit on them?
Yes.
Okay. So for Nate and Sean, I'll go with Nate actually. And was Nate, if I remember correctly, the high scorer of the week? Perfect.
Yes, we need to get Nate on probably next week.
Correct. Yes, Nate had the high score of the week. His players actually averaged pretty much about 20 plus. The only player that flopped for him was Tyreek Hill, who that Miami's offense I was so wrong about. Mike McDaniels, I feel like will be fired by week 5, especially with how good that team is, or team should be. There's no excuse for them to only put up 8 points against that Indy defense. But Tyreek Hill was his only flop. Puka, we already hit on, 35 points. We had Baker, who led their team in the final 2 minutes. Egbuka was his number 1 receiver. We have Derrick Henry, who same old Derrick Henry as always, showed no signs. Actually, he did show a sign of slowing down. His top speed on that 40-yard plus run was only 19.78 miles per hour, which for him is a little bit slower than what he's used to. But clearly, 19.78 miles per hour is not slow at all. So you're still going to be, and especially with his body type, it's going to be hard to tackle him when he gets to that level. James Conner, he did well. I feel like Trey Benson looked better, but James Conner, as the vet, is still going to earn his touches that he deserves. Trey McBride did well. Zay Flowers had himself a game. That game was super fun to watch. If you missed it, I feel bad for you, but that game was super fun to watch. Aaron Jones, he saved his week with that fourth quarter touchdown reception that he had because honestly, he is RB2. He's probably RB1B because Jordan Mason had a couple more carries. We'll get into that. But Jordan Mason had more carries than Aaron Jones, so that's a little bit of a shaky play. But he also has Javonte Williams, who was one of the biggest surprises as well. Him and ETN were probably the two biggest surprises this week. And then Kyler looked good. Showed up on the injury report Sunday morning, but clearly nothing was wrong. He didn't feel too sick, obviously, with his performance. And then he had the Steelers defense, which they had a couple. Honestly, that game was also super fun to watch, which I was super surprised about. But the Steelers defense, they did pretty well. Although they did allow 32 points, they still did well in fantasy with all the sacks and tackles for losses that they had. Then you got Lamar Jackson for Sean's team, going over to Sean's team, who put up 210 points. He had Lamar Jackson. Obviously, if you had any piece in that Bills Ravens game, you're going to be happy with what you got, unless, of course, you have my player who we'll hit on later. CeeDee Lamb, who could have had 50 plus, but like you had hit on earlier this episode, he had 4 drops, and they were crucial drops too. Drake London, that one is a big disappointment on top of the shoulder injury that he suffered. Hopefully, for Sean's sake, Drake London isn't going to be out for too long. But then you go down to his RBs, which did not help him at all. You have RJ Harvey, who, honestly, that Broncos offense was a little bit of a disappointment in my opinion, especially against that Titans defense. But RJ Harvey obviously is not the RB1. You got K9, who, as a Seattle fan, should not be seeing the field. Zach Charbonnet stretches our offense out more, looks much more explosive, actually understands the holes. He's going to find them, no diddy. And then you got Tyler Warren, who he might be Brock Bowers 2.0. Like, we may have been blessed with 2 very young tight ends in this league who's going to take over that Kittle-Kelsey reign. That, yes, remind me on that third one.
You want the third one? Hannon from is it how do you say his last name?
Harold Fannin.
Yeah, Fannin. Sorry, it was H for Harold. Fannin from Cleveland. My God, but we'll get to him later. Keep going with Sean.
Perfect. But yes, that is absolutely correct. And then you got JMO, who that Lions offense, like you had also hit on, just not fun to watch without Ben Johnson. So JMO only put up 9 points. Rashid Shaheed had an okay game. And then Penix, man. Penix balled. And, I mean, I think he put up like 48 or 49 for Sean. And then when he put up that amount for Sean, he did have about 21 coming out of the first drive due to that Bijan touchdown, that long reception Bijan had. So it's still an average game, but if you can have one explosive play, he's going to be perfectly fine. So Penix was a great value at where Sean got him in the draft, and then he had the Eagles defense.
So looking back at Nate's, you mentioned he had everybody over 20. Looking at his entire 15 players, okay, and I'm not gonna count. So we'll say 14. 'Cause I'm not gonna count defenses, but even if you count his defense, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 15, including the bench players, of 20 plus. I mean, God, it pisses me off that I dropped Jacory. The guy I had to write in gets 25 points on his first 10 carries for 82 yards, a rush TD, 40-yard rush. You know, he's just 25 points. And now he's going to go up against the Giants, so I wouldn't be surprised if he gets his first yard game this week. now that he has a game underneath his belt. But Nate, I mean, you're the team to beat right now. Yes, it's only week 1 going into week 2, but I mean, your players are on high-powered offenses. Tyreek, Aaron Jones, yes, you did on that. He almost had a touchdown earlier, or a long reception earlier in the game, but couldn't hold on to it. And then he had that long touchdown towards the end where it just sealed the game. I was going against Aaron Jones in another league, so that irritated me. My goodness, like you mentioned, he is the 1A. He had more carries. He had more targets. He played more consistently. He just looked like he had more burst. Aaron Jones, just the age is starting to show a little bit. But you put him out in wheel routes or put him out wide like they were using him to get his skill set used the way it should be. Vikings should not have won that game. That should have been the Bears. But after that first drive, Caleb couldn't do anything. And then after the first 3 quarters, where JJ the McCarthy was going, he couldn't do anything right in the first 3 quarters. The fourth quarter, though, if I can talk, the fourth quarter he put on a show. What do you have? 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter alone, or 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter?
3, yeah.
So yeah, it takes a while for these young players to compete. I saw something this morning when Minnesota and was it Minnesota? It might have been this one. Minnesota is playing who are they playing this week? Do you know? Let's see. I believe okay, so Atlanta. In this game, it will be the first time that 2 quarterbacks in their second year have had 5 starts or less. And that will be McCarthy versus Penix. So there's no idea to really tell how that's going to go. I would like to say if Drake London's out and their other receivers out, Pitt should put on a show. But the defense of Minnesota, man, they just go after that quarterback. And so it should be a fun game to watch. But Nate beat Sean. Dylan and Jason played the next matchup. Dylan showed up and got the win. Dylan's team here to Dylan's. So had Brock Purdy, who great game. He came out injured. That's one. Toe and shoulder. But Seattle's defense played great until the final drive, and Tariq Woolen gave that game away. Mike Evans was the sideshow of Igbuka. Jefferson started off slow, but he's going to have some growing pains the first few weeks of this season until him and McCarthy can get their timing down. CMC, you'd mentioned CMC being drafted in the first round. In our draft, he actually fell to the second round, and Dylan drafted him. But man, he was just himself, catching passes. Our run defense was a little bit better, so he did not look as strong, but give him a little bit to get back into shape. Breece Hall had a better game than what was anticipated going in. Evan Ingram, I think, came out of that game injured also. Kyron Williams, that offense was a little laggish. And they were, with Adams coming out there, Kyron still, 21 points, so it's not a bad game, but he had 66 yards on 18 carries. So that's not a McVay offense. It's usually a little high-powered. And we were worried about Stafford going in there, but maybe the timing, because he didn't get a. But removing Puka, like you mentioned, kind of removes a little high-powered potency from that offense, and it's going to change the offense. Keon Coleman played a great game, had over 100 yards receiving. Bo Nix, he didn't look good. Yes, there were some drops, but Bo Nix did not look as good as what was anticipated, kind of like you said, going up against the Titans defense. but Minnesota's defense, I believe he dropped someone else and picked up Minnesota. I don't think he started Minnesota last week, but he's got on IR. He picked up Samson in the wave. Tua, who knows what's going on with that offense? Travis Hunter, not that great. I mean, not bad, but not great, like some other rookies. And then Worthy. Don't know how long he's going to be out. They say he's day to day, but that's just until they have to put a injury report out on. Well, I guess that's today. Today's already Wednesday. So put the injury report out today. We'll kind of see if he's even practicing limited or what he's doing, because I know they're talking about him wearing a brace. You want to talk about Jason's team, or I mean, he had some injuries, and unfortunately, he lost his starting tight end that I know both you and I were both trying to trade for. So thank you, Jason, for not accepting that. He did pick up Fannin though. And Fannin had 9 targets, 7 receptions, had a rush. I think he even ran a wildcat play. That might have been the rush, but I think he did a rush and the wildcat play. He blocked a little bit, but 9 targets, 7 receptions, and I believe it was like 77, 76 yards, 63 yards. So great showing for another rookie tight end. What are your thoughts on Fannin?
I mean, I think he is very special. I do think he's more athletic than David Njoku is, but as a David Njoku owner in 3 out of my 7 leagues, I was very upset because David Njoku was not seeing as many targets as he should have been. But at the same time, it is because of the athleticism that Harold Fannin brings and the draft capital that they use to get him as well. But yeah, no, Jason's team took a lot of hits, but at the same time, he was able to find out that Garrett Wilson can be viable with Justin Fields' targets because of how Justin Fields looks. But at the same time, I think this is and not to ruin it, but I think this is a sell high value for Jason. I know everyone's going to watch this in the league, but at the same time, I think that, I mean, obviously he may think different where Justin Fields can keep up how he looked last week. I don't know if it's going to be sustainable, but he did look like a whole different Justin Fields. So I am happy with Breece Hall. I am more happy with Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson than I was a week ago, if I were to have owned them.
You talk about the hits that his team took. We also got to talk about Bijan and that 50-yard reception for a touchdown. I think it was the first play, second play, something like that. And then Chase Brown looked great. Swift looked better than his numbers showed. But again, he was going against the Minnesota defense. I think Jay has 3 solid running backs. You can throw in Jaylen Warren as long as Caleb Johnson, as bad as he did, really didn't get many opportunities. He had 1 carry for -2 yards. But that's also because Warren was doing what he needed to do. And like you mentioned last week, Rodgers, if Rodgers doesn't trust you, he will either ignore you, not give you the ball, or you're probably not going to get on the field because his voice does matter in that locker room. So he's got 4 great running backs. He might need some help at receiver. So Jason may want to, and again, everybody's listening, you may want to try to make a package deal. And I'm not saying this because, yes, I probably will send you an offer, but with 4 great running backs, and you saw what your final score was, you took a loss. You took an 0-2 start. Bryce Young, that offense, I don't know if everybody saw it, but Bryce Young in one of the timeouts was standing off from the. Did you see this, Landon?
I did not.
Bryce Young standing away from the huddle, looking because they were in Jacksonville, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's standing off from the huddle during a TV timeout. and he's watching the mini races that you see on Jumbotron, and someone just called. I can't remember her name, but the blonde who does those great shows on Twitter, and she goes, "I guess that would just be called a video game for Bryce Young. They're not mini games because he's so short and so small." So I thought it was kind of funny, but he's watching these. But yes, your quarterbacks need some help. You got, I think you picked up Daniel Jones on waivers today, which means you dropped Darnold. Darnold looked bad, so you made the right move on dropping Darnold to get Jones. But definitely look at improving that wide receiver core. Olave, you can't count on him making the whole year. Myers has too many targets around him. And Garrett Wilson, he looked great, but again, we don't know. But Brian Thomas, that offense will get going. That is a consideration, Jason. Um, Ian, fine. I'm going to let you.
All right. Well, for the last matchup, I believe this is the last matchup. But for the last one, of course, we had to save the best for last. Ian versus myself. Um, Ian, Ian's team did well. Well, not even actually. I don't mean that. Josh Allen. Let's start with Josh Allen. Let's start with the quarterback position. Josh Allen puts up 70.2 points against me in week one. Halftime came around. He was at about 25, I think, and I was like, you know what? There's there's like a 5% chance I have this. Come towards the end of the game, I had already lost. And I said that there's about a 5% chance with Caleb Williams still. So I'm still adding in that second half points and Caleb Williams, thinking they're probably going to put about 40, 45 points up. No, Josh Allen himself puts up an extra 50 burger in the second half. That fourth quarter, the last 3 minutes, they go and score two touchdowns. If you, like I said, if you miss that game, I highly recommend just starting from literally the fourth quarter. But Josh Allen goes crazy for a 70 burger against me. Jamar Chase, non-existent. That whole Bengals offense was non-existent. But Jamar Chase, only two catches is just the Bengals can't afford that, especially against like the fact that they almost got upset by the Browns is ridiculous. Malik
Should have
Neighbors,
lost.
they should have lost. Yes, Malik Neighbors, little 16 points. Gibbs 19. Like I'm saying, these superstars did not perform this week. So I'm not too upset, but at the same time, I wish I could have made up for it when Jamar Chase only puts up 5 points. J.K. Dobbins did not have more than 10 points until the last two drives, and then he gets a garbage time touchdown, which wasn't even garbage time because they were literally tied. But J.K. Dobbins puts up 20 against me, and Joku puts up 7. Sutton gets a touchdown. He puts up 22. Austin Eckler gets hurt, who only puts up 13. Caleb Williams actually has a good showing at 35 points, and then he had the Rams defense in a 14-9 win in favor of the Rams, so they put up a good amount of points as well. That came out to a total of 228 points against me, and then with my team, Drake May, very disappointing, but I'm not too upset with it. I do want to see more rushing attempts from him, especially behind that offensive line that they have. A a pretty good wide receiver core as well. Diggs was non-existent, so I'm hoping that they find the connection here pretty soon. But Drake May only put up 24 for me. Nico, 5 points, 5.5 points, just awful, awful. There's nothing else I can say. T. Higgins puts up 8 points. Again, another Bengals victim of how slow they played in their first week. Devon Achane thankfully gets a garbage time touchdown in an 8:33 loss to the Colts. Bucky thankfully finds the end zone because he only puts up 20 points. There's two superstar RBs that are only putting up 20 points for me. And Jonathan Taylor, 22 points. Like I said, mentioned earlier, Daniel Jones just stole two goal line touchdowns from him. We're going to hope that that changes. Then you got my tight end, Mark Andrews. Might be the whoa. Like, he is absolutely awful. I dropped him for Jawan Jennings this morning because of how
Saw
bad
that.
Mark Andrews is. No Isaiah Likely. They put up 40 points in a ball game, and Mark Andrews gets one catch for 5 yards. And it's not even like he got 9 targets. I think he only finished with 2 targets, maybe even only 1 target. But 1 point for him.
Real quick, Mark Andrews, did you see the play? He's 89, right?
Yeah,
You see the play where he literally backed up so he wouldn't have to have contact with someone and blew a block?
that I did. I think this is
What
last
a,
year. Yeah.
was it last
No,
year?
I think this is his last year.
Oh, okay. Yes, because likely, well,
Yeah.
he just get extended?
Likely got extended, and they didn't even put him on pup because they want him to come back before week 4. So Mark Andrews is dog water. And then JSN, that is my one superstar. JSN will be my wide receiver one for the rest of the season. I know you had said Sam Darnold looked bad. I kind of disagree due to the fact that it's not that he
Score wise.
correct score wise he looked bad. Yeah, for fantasy he looked bad. Awful
Yeah,
for
that
fantasy.
I should have clarified that, yes.
Got you. Because our offense, we stalled too often. Sam Darnold's only issue, which is not my issue, I love it as a fantasy football owner. As a Seahawks fan, I don't quite love it, but
Locked
he
into it.
he will only look at JSN. JSN actually had 124 receiving yards. I think Darnold finished with only 30 more receiving or passing yards, so a total of like 155 passing yards. JSN had like 85% of his passing yards.
Yep.
That is absolutely insane. But JSN, 9 catches, 124 receiving yards. Should have had a touchdown, but unfortunately got tackled at the 10 that last drive. But JSN, he's going to be a stud. He's top 10 wide receivers for me rest of season.
JSN, didn't he have like 59% target share?
Something like that. I know it was insanely high. But yes, JSN, like if you have JSN, that's going to be a league winner unless you have every other player I have, then it won't matter. But then you got Julian Love, or Jordan Love, I mean, who actually he did pretty well, but they went up big early that they didn't really even need to. They didn't need to throw as much, so he only finished with 30. But I'll take that, especially against a Detroit defense that I thought was going to be pretty stout. Then I had Seattle's defense. Honestly, they finished with 15. Nothing crazy. They still. Honestly, it could have been worse if Jake Moody knew how to put the ball in the back of the net. But unfortunate for Seahawks fans, fortunately for Niner fans, Jake Moody is no longer with the team.
Right.
Jalen Waddle on my bench went to the medical tent, of course. But so hopefully he can produce in the future, but it doesn't look like he's going to right now with how bad Tua is, which I hate saying because I was such a big Tua believer, but he's awful. Ollie Gordon can be dropped. Braylon Allen can be dropped. Tony Pollard went up against the Broncos defense, who I feel like has the best defense in the league. And then Dante Thornton, I think I did drop him.
I
For
believe you
actually,
did.
yeah, I dropped him for Keishon Butte, who the last 4 games that Keishon's played with Drake May, he has finished 3 out of the last 4 in the top 5 for receivers in that week. So if for some reason Diggs does not get better, I have the wide receiver one to pair with Drake May, and I feel like once the season gets going and that offense starts to click with Mike Vrabel, they're gonna Kayshawn could be a huge pickup.
Um, Thoughts on Ian picking up Justin Fields? How
I don't
crazy
know
was that
how
one?
I don't know how I didn't get him. I put in a claim for him and Daniel Jones, didn't get either of them, but that's besides the point. I think Ian did a great pickup. Caleb did put up 35 though against a stout Minnesota defense, so I'm kind of surprised he dropped Caleb Williams, but he dropped both Caleb and Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is awful, so I get that. That's okay.
We don't need to roster 3 quarterbacks. It's there's so many. Having the 5 bench spots that we have this year makes it really tough to roster extra players. Like you and I were discussing, Junkins meeting with the league today. I'm hoping he does not get suspended because if he does, I have to take him out of my IR spot, put him on my bench, and now I've only got 4 spots. I also mentioned, okay, Jalen Carter got a 1 game suspension from the league. Um, and the league counted last week's game because he was kicked out. It's like, okay, now you've set this precedent that, okay, Junkins didn't play last week. He was under contract. So we should use that as a suspension. It's just, and the NFL, as we all know, is very inconsistent with the penalty or the punishments. So who knows how they'll look at that? But high player or high scoring team. I think we kind of went over this. Nate's team was high scoring. Landon probably won't have time to do a video this weekend. He's going to be at a soccer tournament. But Nate, text us, let us know, because we're going to know now how long you watched this video if we don't receive a text from you. Text us and let us know when you are available to jump on a call, and Landon and I will try to set that up so that all 3 of us can be on a call and do a video with you. Mark, low score of the week. Again, it's week 1, going into week 2. Injuries are going to happen. Players are going to drop off. The studs are going to, cream always rises to the top. So the standings will fluctuate all year long. So do not give up. Waivers, let's go over here. So waivers that ran last night, we had, let's see. What a few. Okay, so I had the number 1 seed. I'm not going to go with the seeds, but Keenan Allen I grabbed Keenan Allen for Loveland. Dylan had the next one, got Dylan Sampson, dropped Cam Scatabo. Then Landon, you must have put your wide receiver as your first choice, Landon.
Yeah, I did.
And that's how you didn't get Fields or Danny Jones.
Yeah.
So you got Bout and dropped Thornton Jr., then Ian with his first choice, because if you would have made Fields your first, you would have got Fields, because Ian got Fields by dropping Lawrence. Mark got Turpin from the Cowboys for dropping Cup. Jason dropped Darnold and got Danny Dimes. Nate dropped Marvin Mims Jr. and picked up Johnston from the Chargers, who had 2 touchdowns last week. I then, on my second round, got Hollywood Brown for dropping Tank Bigsby. I was surprised that I was able to get him. Yes, he's not going to get 19 targets a game, but shoot, if he just gets, 10 to 15 targets, 10 to 13 targets, and catches, 80% of those, 70% of those, and gets me some yardage and a long play, he should be startable on some weeks. And he's the number 1 receiver for the next, 4 weeks at least. But Jalen Royals, when he comes back from knee tendonitis, Hollywood needs to watch out for him. Then Landon got Juwan Johnson for dropping Mark Andrews. And then Jason dropped Ramondre Stevenson and picked up Jonnu Smith. And then Nate also dropped Pittsburgh and picked up San Francisco. And then at 6 a.m., Jason picked up Harold Fannin Jr. Ian dropped T.J. Hawkinson and grabbed Green Bay Packers. And he dropped Caleb Williams and got Tillman from the Browns. So anything you want to discuss before I mention you want to mention, how about you mention since I just went over the waivers, you mentioned the upcoming matchups for week 2.
All right. So for week 2, I'll start actually with my matchup. We will actually be facing each other, and you have a couple Monday night players. I believe you have 3. I have 2, and so this matchup hopefully will not be over before Monday. If it is, that's going to be really unfortunate for one of us. But then you got Jaden Daniels on Thursday, so you're going to have a key piece of your team go on Thursday. so we can kind of dictate how this weekend might shape up. But I also have Jordan Love going against Jaden Daniels, so it's actually going to be. We'll see where we're at on Thursday. So you're favored to win that matchup by 2 points, 210 to 208 in favor of you. The next matchup would be Oscar and Nate, who Nate is projected to win by, I believe, 36 or so. And then that is going to be Nate has a couple Monday players as well as Oscar. So that matchup will be coming down to Monday as well probably. It is 186 to Oscar to Nate's 222 points for his projection. And then into the next matchup, we have Jason versus Mark. Jason, this is actually the lowest scoring. It is projected to be the lowest scoring matchup of the week, with Jason at 194 and Mark at 186. But at the same time, Mark did pick a player up, so he has one of his starting spots voided or empty. So his projection will be going up here pretty soon once he plugs that player in. But it actually looks like this matchup does not involve any Monday night players. So that matchup will be done by Sunday night. And then to the second to last one, we have 2-0 Ian versus 1-1 Sean. That is projected. Ian is projected to win that matchup 213 to 204. This matchup, actually, Ian will be done minus. Ian will only have Cortland Sutton and J.K. Dobbins after the 10 o'clock games finish on Sunday, so he will have a very good idea of what he needs. Actually, looking at it, they are both packed with those Sunday morning games / Thursday games, so we will know probably right after the 1 o'clock games who's going to win that matchup. But Drake London, that is one to look out for, because Drake London, I believe, has a Sunday night game, and on Sean's team, if he keeps Drake London in that starting lineup, he might have to pick someone up off of the waivers due to the fact that Drake London may be a surprise out. He should know by Friday with the practice reports, but if he's a game time decision, that could be a risky start considering he is a Sunday night game. But like I said, that matchup, the projections favor Ian 213 to 204. And then for the last matchup, we got the 2-0 Robbie versus the 1-1 Dylan. And Dylan is actually favored to win this matchup by 5 points. It is currently 207 to Dylan to Rob's 202 projection. And this matchup does have a couple Monday night players as well, so we won't know who wins this one until Monday night either. But those are all the 5 matchups this week.
So real quick, Drake London plays Sunday night. Like you said, he's questionable due to the shoulder. Sean does own Higgins
Okay.
from Houston.
Yeah.
And they are the first of 2 Monday night games this week coming up. So remember, there are 2 Monday night games. So you have 4 teams to pick from. So that does open up your opportunity to either start someone, find someone to start. But Sean, I do suggest, and I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'll do it. Take Drake London and put him in as a flex. Do not leave him in as your wide receiver. You don't want to leave your flex spots. You don't want to use your flex spots on early games, because then it just locks you into needing a certain position. There's the pointer of the day.
Yes. And then, so those are all the 5. Those are the 5 matchups.
So we have an opportunity of looking at these. The Jason and Mark one, and being the lowest projected, there's a possibility someone starts off 0-4 in that, because they may not beat the median. And then we don't have any 2-0 teams playing each other, and that's the only 0-2 team. So after this week, we'll probably only have 1 team left without a win. So that's a positive. Okay? Anything else you want to throw out there before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, are you saying that I'm going to beat you?
No, but you're not 2-0 either. So that's right. I guess I am saying you're
You are saying that.
you have a chance of yeah, you could go. I guess there's a lot of them.
you're
But
you're
that
just
one
looking at,
locked
yeah,
in is what
correct.
I was saying.
Correct. Yeah, no, it's gonna be a
What the
fun
league
week.
is. It is. They all are. And Jason again, or not Jason, but Nate, please text us. Let us know that when you're available. Landon, are you going to have any free time while you're in Tahoe this week between games?
Uh,
Probably
bet
not, right?
between games, I might be able to on Saturday. It just depends on when the parents decide they want to start drinking.
Oh, okay. That all depends on if you win or lose.
Yeah, that too.
Nice. Well, good luck this weekend at your tournament, and then not good luck at fantasy in this league, but your other 6 or 7 leagues.
Well,
Good
I
luck.
appreciate it. Yeah, I started off 0-7, so
Right.
hopefully I can turn that around and get a win somewhere.
So is that 7 leagues, or with like this league you're 0-2, so you don't have 7 leagues?
No, I got 7 leagues, so I'm currently like 0-9
Oh,
because I have two against the median. No, I have
okay.
three, so I'm 0-10.
Ouch.
Yeah,
Sorry to ruin your day.
yeah.
Okay. I will talk to you later. Just send that out as soon as you can, and let's try to get Nate on here, and then maybe start trying to do when you're in town a Saturday recap or Sunday morning recap.
That sounds good.
Okay. Talk to you later.
All right, y'all have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. All right, y'all. Y'all enjoy your day, and best luck to everyone not named Ian, not named my dad, due to the fact that I hate seeing Ian win, and I need to be my dad. But other than that,